Hi everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Hinako and thank you so much for joining me for this session. A huge thank you to Saffron and Moog for having me today, and also, you can't see, but the wonderful Tom Lewis who's in this room with me as well, who's helped me, who's set all the cameras up and made this happen, so I'm really grateful. So today we're going to talk about performing and recording with a Moog Matriarch semi-modular analog synthesizer, which you can see here. It's a synth I've been using for the last year and a half and I really love it. Actually, maybe we should start with a quick, just to hear what it sounds like. Really dreamy sounding synthesizer. So I'm just going to show you a quick slide and an overview of what we're going to talk about today. So a brief introduction to the Matriarch. What does it sound like? We'll do a quick demo. We'll go through recording using a DAW. I'm going to be using Ableton Live today. Some quick tips and tricks and any questions that you might have at the end. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Moog already, they're the creators of the most beautiful synthesizers in the universe. Founded by Bob Moog in 1964, you can see on the very left hand side. And the company are now based in Asheville. There's an amazing factory out in Asheville in North Carolina. So in October 1964, Bob Moog unveiled the first modular voltage controlled synthesizer, which is, I believe, the first commercial available synthesizer. And the principal innovation was the voltage controlled oscillator, which uses voltage to control pitch, which we'll get onto a little bit as well later on. And in 1953, Moog also produced his own theremin design, which is, you can see the picture of Clara Rockmore playing a theremin on the very right hand side. And then also you can see the amazing Wendy Carlos in the very top middle, who created a whole album around Johann Sebastian Bach's music performed on the Moog, and also Susan Ciani at the bottom playing Moog 1 synthesizer. So as you can see, they inspire generations of musicians and artists with their beautiful machines. And a quick overview of what we'll go through today. So the Matriarch is a patchable, semi-modular, 4-note paraphonic analog synthesizer. Semi-modular in that you don't need to have anything plugged in per se in these patch inputs to make it work. It plays standalone as it is, but these patch points allow you to program your own sounds and go even deeper into the synthesizer architecture. It's 100% analog signal path. It has 4 voltage controlled oscillators, which you can see here. 2 envelopes, you've got the filter and the amplitude envelopes here. Got a dual analog VCA and the outputs are here. Dual voltage controlled analog LFOs with selectable waveforms and patchable routing, one of which is here in the modulation section and one here, a standalone LFO here. It has an arpeggiator and sequencer section here, which are incredibly powerful. The sequencer can store up to 12 unique sequences with up to 256 steps, so you can totally run a whole show from this section and just have them patched in. A great thing also as well is once you've recorded a sequence in, it will store it within the synth even if you turn it off, so you can program it in your studio and take it onto stage for a live show and it's all going to be ready and waiting for you in there. A vintage designed stereo ladder filter with different filter modes, which you can find here. The filter modes are series, stereo and parallel, and then a stereo analog delay section here, and it sounds really dreamy if you want these beautiful space-like delay sounds. And yeah, we'll get onto that in a sec and we can see what it sounds like. So moving on to the next slide. So the synth also has keyboard aftertouch and keyboard velocity, which can be patched in at the back as well. Aftertouch in that when you press down a key and you can just feel the click underneath, it means that you've activated the aftertouch, or you're in the aftertouch mode, and you can program it to do different things. So for example, say you're playing the keyboard and you wanted to, when you press down on the key, you wanted the filter to open up a little bit more, then you can patch that in through the back panel here into the filter section and make that happen. It has an instrument in section here. It's a jack input, it's a mono jack input, and it means that you can plug in any external sound sources and affect them through the filter and the delay as well, which is really fun. I've got an electron drum machine plugged into it at the moment and we'll see what that sounds like in a sec. But it's a really powerful tool for expanding any equipment that you might have already. Say you've got a Eurorack modular system that you'd like to plumb into this architecture here, you can totally do that. Yeah, and you can even go really deep into the synth in the rear panel here. And there's also Eurorack output level, output section here, which gives you Eurorack level out to connect to any equipment that you might have. So moving on to the next slide. So just to give you a quick overview on control voltage and to explain what it means. It's an electrical signal which allows you to affect different parameters in the synth. And I think different synthesizer manufacturers have different standards, but Bob Moog standards is 1 volt per octave. And each octave has 12 semitones, so the 1 volt is divided into 12. So when you play the 12 semitones on the synth, it will, from one C to the next C, it will be 1 volt in itself. And then if we go on to the oscillators, so we'll go back to the oscillator section here. You've got different selectable different selectable options. You've got the triangle here, the sawtooth wave, the square wave, and the narrow pulse. We'll go through each sound and what it sounds like in a sec. But a triangle wave is great for sort of soft flute-like sounds, sawtooth for more thick brassy sounds, square wave sounds quite hollow and you can maybe simulate a clarinet sound, and the narrow pulse wave is more like a reedy, really great for oboe and clav sounds. You've also got the white noise here, which you can dial in. And that's good for if you wanted to program any percussion, or say you're creating a woodwind sound and you wanted to simulate the sound of like a breathing sound. That's really, really good for that as well. And we'll go on to the paraphony section, which is here, for the voice modes. You've got a switch here which allows you to switch between one voice, 2 voice, and 4 voice. So the 1 voice being monophonic, 2 voice being duophonic, and 4 voice being 4-note paraphonic, which we'll get to in a second as well, but those are the different options. Actually, let's talk about paraphony quickly. So it's slightly different to polyphony, where the VCOs will share one signal path. So all of these oscillators here will share the same signal path here, if that makes sense. So it's a little bit different to polyphonic, but it creates lovely sounds and different things of its own, which is really fun to play with. So let's get on to what does it sound like. So I'm just going to unpatch what I've got here so we can start from scratch and hear what the pure sounds of the synthesizer are without anything being patched in. Okay, so I'm just going to reset the synth quickly. Bear with me. So I'm going to go for everything on the same octave. So I've got all the oscillators in the same octave and the same waveform. I'm going to go for triangle. Everything's patched in here. It's a bit like a mixing desk in a way when you have to reset everything. It's good to start from a clean slate just so you know where you are. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do it without any delay for now so we can hear the pure sound, and then I'll filter in the delay. I'll dial in the delay so we can hear it as well. So I'm going to start in monophonic mode. We're going to listen to all 4. It gives you the option to use all these oscillators but create quite a thick sound, because it'll be all playing the same note. Monophonic allows you to play 1 note at a time, so it gives you the option to really layer the sound and create some really interesting textures. But actually I'm going to start off with just listening to oscillator 1, so I'm going to just dial down the levels of all the other oscillators. So we're just hearing this one here, and we're going to play through the different waveforms that we've got available. So this is the triangle wave on its own, and then we've got the sawtooth wave, the square wave, and the pulse wave. And the octave mode here allows you to switch between different octaves. I quite like sort of playing with that whilst like a sequencer is going, for example, and it really gives you lots of different sounds and textures to play with. Okay, so then we've gone through all of those, so let's hear all of the oscillators playing at once in monophonic mode. So just for argument's sake, I'm just gonna put everything on one. So we're listening to 4 oscillators playing 4 triangle waves here. This can hear is quite thick. can make it even thicker by slightly detuning some of the oscillators as well. To make it quite swarmy sounding. And then I'm going to add another octave on top. And then let's play around a bit, and maybe let's make all the oscillators play different waveforms and then different octaves as well. So it changes the sound quite dramatically already, which is quite fun. You can also hard sync them all to make even more interesting timbres. But I'm also going to... The interesting thing with monophonic as well is that you can, on the synth, you can detune the frequency to, I think the widest range you can detune it is a fifth of a note. So if I'm listening just to oscillators 1 and 2, and I detune oscillator 2 by a fifth, we're pressing one note, but we're going to get 2 notes. There we go. So I'm getting an F and a C just by pressing that note here. And then if we dial in oscillator 3, and if I tune that up by a fifth, then we're going to get 3 notes and 1 note. And then if I dial up oscillator 4 and maybe put it somewhere in between oscillators 1 and 3, it's giving you like a chord on one note, which is really fun. I'm going to make that an octave higher so you can really hear the different notes. So there's endless amounts of fun you can have within a monophonic synth as well. So then we're going to go to duophonic mode. So if I go here and make the voice, so go from one voice to 2 voices, this means that we can play 2 notes at once. So we're listening to all 4 oscillators here. So I'm pressing this note, but now we can have 2. And then to really be able to hear the difference, I'm going to change oscillators 2 and 4 and make them sawtooth. Actually, I'm going to do 3 and 4 and make them sawtooth. So you see the first note we're pressing is the triangle wave. So you've got some nice textures going on there. You can also hard sync them as well. And then we're going to paraphony mode. So I'll go back onto the to the voice mode here, and we'll flip it to 4 voice. And here we can play, I'm going to have everything on the same waveform, so everything on triangle and everything in the same octave as well. And this allows us to play a 4-note chord. So this also means that we can play the same chord, but we can have some fun with the voicings, which is a really, really fun thing you can do. So if I play everything in the same octave and play a chord, but then say I change the octaves of the say different notes, we can get a completely different voicing by playing the same notes again. So it creates quite happy accidents, which is really, really fun as well. Okay, so now maybe let's look at the modulation section in the mod wheel here. So you can affect the cutoff amount, the pulse width amount, and the pitch amount. And you can also, for the pitch, you can also assign which groupings of the oscillators it goes through. So you can group the pitches. You can assign the pitch mod to affect just oscillator 1 and 3, 2 and 4, all of them at the same time. For this demo, I'm just going to quickly show what it sounds like when we modulate the cutoff amount of the frequency. So I'm just going to play chord here, and then we can plumb in the frequency, the rate here, and then we can change the waveform. I'll dial through the different waveforms so you can hear how each of them sounds with what we're affecting. So by using the mod wheel, I'm just going to dial in how much of this modulation I want. Okay, so the waveform that you're hearing that is modulating the signal at the moment is a sine wave. And then we've got the sawtooth wave. Here it's a bit more angular and cutty. And then we've got the ramp. Square wave. And then we've got the staircase. And a random, a sine random wave. So lots of different options there to play with. If you wanted to hear the pitch as well, it can be quite interesting to play with all the different pitches. So you can get quite fun things going on there, quite space-like sounds. So now maybe let's go on to the arpeggiator section, which is endless amounts of fun. So let's just plumb in a quick arpeggiator for you. So you press play and hold. So once I've hit the keys, it means it's just going to hold the notes going, and you can be, now that you've got your hands free, you don't have to hold the notes down. You can be affecting different parameters and have fun that way as well. So let's just plumb in a quick. So there's 3 different modes of directions. There's the ordinary mode, and the ordinary mode is the notes, the order that I've played the notes in. Then we've got the forward and backwards mode, so it goes up and back down, up and back down. The really fun one is the random mode, which the synth has a mind and brain of its own and plays it in whatever order it thinks it works. And we've also got the octave section here, which plays the notes that you've sequenced in 1 octave, and then 2 octaves, and then 3 octaves. And then you can change the tempo of it here. To make it sound a bit smoother, I'm just going to make the release a bit longer on the amplitude envelope here. It's quite nice as well to increase the glide a bit. It's also quite a nice thing to do as well is to plumb in some stereo delay, which is in this section here while I've got an arpeggiator going, to really get into like quite a dreamy space-like sound world. So I'm just going to show you that again with the same chord. Endless amounts of fun, don't get me started on it. But yeah, I mean, the delay in itself just sounds really dreamy and is endless fun to play with. So that's the arpeggiator. Maybe let's go on to building a sequence as well. As mentioned before, the synth, even if you program something in and turn it off, it'll save it all for you, so that you can program something at home and take it to the stage and yeah, just press play and be away. So let's maybe just program something really quickly, and I'm just going to change the sound as well of the synth so that we've got some variety. Maybe let's go with that for now. Okay, so to program a sequence in, we put the toggle here in record mode, and literally it's as easy as playing in the notes that you want it to sequence. So I'm going to go for something in F minor. So I'm just going to play something in and see what happens. So once you've finished recording something in, you just pop it back into sequence mode here, which is in the middle, and then I'm going to have it play back in the the direction that I played it in, and then all I need to do is press play and hold and press the key. Interesting thing is it transposes it for you when you press a note that you want. If you wanted to change the start note, it will transpose the sequence for you. You get the idea. So that's sequence mode. Something really fun as well. Once you've programmed a sequence in and you want to affect it a little bit, you can record different parameters over the top. So it's a bit like recording automation on, say, Ableton or something. Once you've recorded something and you want to affect how much something comes in, or you want to put in like a rest or a ratchet or something, you can totally do that after you've recorded the notes in, so you don't have to be thinking about it while you're programming a sequence in. So maybe let's do that together. So now I've got this sequence that we recorded in. I'm just going to trigger it here, and then I'm going to record in a rest here. And then I'm going to record in a tie. Oh, see, you didn't hear any of that because I didn't put it in record mode, so I just need to put it in record mode here. Can you see the flashing here? And I'm going to record a rest. And then I'm going to record in a ratchet, which means it's going to play the note twice or 4 times. So yeah, that's a quick overview of the sequencer and very, very brief overview of the powerful things that it can do. But yeah, again, endless amounts of fun. I guess we could go on to quickly patching something in before we move on to the demo. I'm just going to reset this. In a second. Is that the... there we go. There we go. Okay, we'll go into patching something in quickly. So, for example, something that could be really fun to plumb in is patching in the LFO to affect the stereo delay. So it gives you, basically the stereo delay mix input here helps, it's the level in between what you're hearing from the oscillators and also the level of the stereo delay. So by applying an LFO to the mix input of there, it sort of gives you quite a fun, I'm not really good at explaining this, but I know what it sounds like. It mixes in the oscillators with the delay quite nicely. So let's just see what that sounds like. I'm going to put it through into the utility patch bay here, which gives you an option to copy the signal into different outputs, so you can be using the same output of the LFO to trigger lots of different things. So I'm just going to patch it in there. And then I'm going to put it into the attenuator. And then I put it into the output of What's that? Okay. Okay, so can you see by patching the LFO into the stereo delay mix in, we're getting quite a fun level in between the level of the oscillator and the level of the stereo delay. So that's something that we can, but yeah, again, there's so many patch points. I feel like there's a whole session in itself to go through all the capabilities of it. But maybe let's go on to, because I'm quite conscious of the time, of maybe showing you the instrument in section. So it gives you lots of different options to use like an external sound source, patch it into the instrument in input at the back, and send audio in through here and use it through the filter and the stereo delay section here. So for this I've got an analog rhythm by Electron. It's a drum machine, and let's just hear what that sounds like. So I'm going to put it in drone mode. I'm just going to turn the oscillators down. So what you're hearing now is the output of the analog rhythm. It's just a very, very simple drum beat that I've programmed in just for the purpose of showing you what it sounds like through the filter. And then we can then send what we're hearing from here straight through to the stereo delay. So yeah, that's just a very quick overview of what it can do, but you can plumb in any external sound source that you like and really have fun with the filter section, and yeah, go to town and really affect all the sounds in the way that you like. So let's go on through to the demo. So what's the best way to do this? So usually when I'm using the Moog Matriarch in the studio or in a live environment, I love sending it through a loop pedal and then just sort of building different textures as I go along and sort of patching things in and changing things on the fly. So maybe I can just show you that really quickly in the way that I really enjoy using it. And obviously, yeah, again, endless amounts of joy you can have with this. Everyone has their own connection with the synthesizer. So I guess I'll just show you a quick way that I have been enjoying using it in making music. So I'm going to start with like a drone, and then I'll bring in different parameters as we go along. Okay, so let's just try this. I'm just going to find a good starting note. There we go. That's a good starting note. Yeah, I'm going to go here. Okay, here we go. Arpeggiator is still going. So that's a quick demo of how I just really love creating different textures, and I didn't even get into the patch points of it all. Obviously there's so many endless things that we could have done there, but just as a quick overview of the types of sounds that I love creating on this synth. So maybe let's go on to recording the Matriarch using a DAW. I'm sure there's lots of different types of DAWs that you use. I thought maybe one that could be quite fun to show in this demo was using it in conjunction with Ableton Live. So Moog Matriarch also has MIDI over USB, which is amazing. It just means that you can patch the MIDI in and out just by one single USB cable, which I've got going into the USB input of my laptop, which makes things a lot cleaner and a lot easier. Also, the interface that I use doesn't have MIDI input or MIDI output, so it's really, really handy for me as well to be able to use it via USB. So I'm just going to switch over to Ableton. I'm just going to exit this and open this. I don't know if you can see that on the screen now. Yes, you can. Okay, I'm going to go into full screen view. So one thing I thought might be quite fun to go through is to send a MIDI sequence that I've programmed in on here. It's just a very simple sequence here, but to send it via MIDI to the Moog and then back again through the audio interface to record it in. So maybe for the purpose of this, I'm just going to leave this running and create a sound that I think could be quite fun to use. Actually, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to record in the drum loop that we played through the analog rhythm electron drum machine as a basis of the sequence, and then I'm going to record stuff over the top so we can create like a quick track with a beat for the purposes of this demo. So I'm going to mute the sequence for now. I'm going to go to the channel I made for the electron drum machine. I'm just going to make sure that I can hear it coming through, so I'm just going to do this quickly. Have it on drone mode. So we can hear that. Okay, so to be able to do this, I'm going to have to send a voltage to the synth. So I'm going to press down a key in order to hear the audio coming in. So I'm going to press record. I'm going to have the metronome on. Hopefully you can hear this. And then I'm going to just gradually filter it in, I reckon. Yeah, here we go. For now, I'm just going to make sure it's in time because I probably didn't trigger it at the right time. That's better. Alright, so I'm just going to make that neater. This is very rushed and I usually take a bit more time doing this, but for the purposes of now, I think it'll be fine. So then I'm going to turn that off for a minute so that I can just hear the sequence. I'm going to find a sound that I want to play the sequence on, or through, I should say. I'm going to go with a monophonic sound. I'm going to make it quite a thick sawtooth sound, I reckon. I'm going to make it this octave. Make sure I turn the oscillators up. So I'm just going to check that it's actually coming through. So I'm going to loop this. Yeah, that'll do. So what I'll do is I'm going to affect the filter as I'm recording it in. This is a really, really fun thing about sending MIDI to the synth, and also by, I don't know, having the note hold on a synth while you're doing stuff, is that it frees your hands up to be able to play with different parameters and really shapes what you're recording as well. I kind of prefer to do that rather than automate stuff in post, because, well, I don't know, it is of that moment, and you kind of find that you get happy accidents along the way, and I find it a more intuitive process to work anyway, for just personally. So I'm just going to press record. I'm going to make sure that I am that sequence channel here, and then let's see what happens. So here we go. That'll do for now. So let's play that back with both the drum machine and the sequence and see what that sounds like. Without the metronome, because it's a bit annoying. Okay, so you get the idea. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make a quick drop. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. So then I'm going to move on to recording chords just to support the harmony underneath. So I'm going to go into paraphony mode and maybe use square wave. Let's just get a quick sound. With that sound, maybe I want it to come in a bit more on the filter. Okay, so I've got to make sure that it's armed on here, and then I'm going to go ahead and press record and see what comes. I don't really know what I'm going to be playing yet. That's kind of the fun of it. Okay, that will do. I'm just going to add some quick processing in the way of compressors, just so we can got a bit more signal. Same with the electron here. Okay, and then I might record some more effectsy type stuff. So I'm just going to patch in something real quick so that it's one thing that I quite enjoy doing is patching the wave out so that you can separate oscillators 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and pan them left and right to give more of a depth. So I'm just going to do that real quick. I need something that's a bit longer. No, that'll be fine. Okay. Okay, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to record yet, but let's just press record and see what comes out. Okay, here we go. Okay, so there is the basis of a very, very brief track. Let's just listen back to it quickly all together. Okay, for the purposes of this demo, maybe let's move on to something else. But yeah, that's typically how maybe I'd start recording a sequence, and then I'd start layering up different effects. And yeah, there's lots of different ways to do things and lots of different things we can do. But for now, let's stop there. Okay, so I'm not sure how much time we've got left actually, but let's go on to the next section here. So quickly, just to run through a few tips and tricks. So I've got a slide just to break down some of these points. So one thing that I just did in that demo just now is the patching two of the oscillators out of the four to the left and patching the other two to the right, so we've got more of a wide stereo field, which is really, really fun to play with, and it means that you can have, yeah, you can just vary the range and the stereo field of what you're creating. Something also really fun to play with is the tremolo effect, so you can use the LFO rate to create sort of like a tremolo effect of the output as well, which is really, really fun. One thing that I love doing is, we touched on this earlier, but just to have a sequence running, which frees up your hand to experiment with different things. To be honest with you, I'm not the most technical of people, but I always learn more by doing, and that's a really, really fun way that I've learned of, say, like patching different things in while a sequence is running, so I know exactly what I'm doing. And if, say for example, sometimes I'll patch something in and it'll cut the sound, then I'll know that that isn't, you know, the right routing or whatever. So I always find that trial by error is a really really good way to learn. Using this synth actually was my first first instance in using a modular piece of equipment, so it's been a really, really wonderful learning curve and a really, really fun one as well. So I just really encourage you to just get lost in the machinery of it all and see what comes. Also, something that I really thought was great was when you get the synth here, you get this this booklet, the manual, but towards the back there's these for want of a better word, like a colouring in sort of thing, where it has all of the modules here, and you can write the preset name that you've designed and draw in the patches, because obviously once you've patched something in, to be able to recall the same sound you have to patch all the cables back in. It's not like with you can't really save a preset, for example, so it's a really fun way to do this, but it's also a really fun way to memorise and learn what different effects and different parameters do. So it's a really fun way to record those down. What else did I write down? Recording ties and ratchets on top of sequences. That's what we did earlier, but again, really fun to be able to record automation after you've recorded a sequence. Vocal formants. This is something that actually I wonder if we've got quick time to do, to emulate the sound of a vocal formant using a sawtooth wave. So I'm just going to do this. Let's see if I can remember how I did this before. So in this instance we have the modulation on high and the resonance on quite high as well. Bear with me while I just dial this in. So by affecting, we've got the resonance on quite high here. It sounds almost like a vocal synth or like a vocal formant being played. So it's quite a fun way to play. You can also do things like loop an envelope, so you can patch in the envelope end out here and put it back into the trigger in, so you can be looping an envelope to create lots of even more fun textures. You can overdrive the tones, so there's a gentle distortion on the oscillators, which you can hear. So for example, if I just listen to oscillator 1, so sorry, what am I doing? We can me just dialing the volume on the mixer here, but there's some really gentle overdrive tones you can have. And then if I have it's quite a nice thing to play with as well. The mixer patch points, which you can find here, is very useful for connecting other Eurorack gear to the synth. And we didn't even touch on this at all, but there's a global settings in the synth which you can dive into a whole world of parameters, a whole world of options, which allows you to, so these are just some of the options, but it allows you to affect the pitch bend range here. So at the moment it's just doing one tone, but you can make that even bigger depending on how much you want to affect it. You can gate the glide, you can change the oscillator frequency, knob range, transpose modes of the sequencer, and also add swing to the ARP and sequencer should you want to. I think that's probably about all we've got time for at the moment. I'm really sorry if I rushed through stuff, but hopefully it's given you at least a brief overview of, well, just a very tiny overview of what this powerful synthesizer can do. So I guess it just leaves it now open to questions. If you have anything you wanted to ask, I'll do my very best to answer them. I think this is just a really fun, powerful machine to get to know, and I'm still getting to know every day. It's endless amounts of fun, and I really hope you enjoy using it. Thank you so much for joining me, and yeah, here to answer any questions that you might have.